The Galactic Council's exploration fleet prided itself on reaching every corner of known space. For centuries, they had maintained stability, mapping, cataloging, and monitoring the countless star systems under their protection. The Council had long believed there was little left in the galaxy to surprise them, that every species, civilization, and anomaly had been identified or neatly categorized. And so, when a strange energy signature appeared in a far-flung, uncharted sector, it was dismissed as a minor curiosity, likely a natural phenomenon or some minor culture's experimental technology. But as the signal persisted, curiosity grew, and they ordered a scout vessel to investigate. Captain Varnke, a seasoned veteran of countless missions, was given the unenviable task of leading this scouting expedition. He'd seen almost everything the galaxy had to offer, and so, as he and his crew departed the Council's central territory, he expected this to be a routine expedition. The Council's data on the area suggested nothing of interest. No habitable worlds, no developed species, no notable resources. The only known history was humanity, a long-dead species that had existed on the edge of galactic charts some 800,000 years prior, rumored to have vanished as a victim of their own primitive, self-destructive tendencies. The Council didn't even consider the possibility of humans being involved, dismissing them as a long-forgotten footnote in galactic history. But as the scout team approached the source of the signal, an uneasy tension settled over the crew. The signal was growing stronger, its structure too complex to be naturally occurring. It pulsed in rhythms almost like speech, as though something or someone was calling out in the quiet of space. The deeper they ventured, the more Varnke and his crew began to pick up traces of technology in the surrounding space, fragments, faint trails of energy, and odd fluctuations in local space-time. Their scanners showed evidence of highly advanced machinery, yet none matched the design principles of any known species. The crew exchanged nervous glances as they tried to interpret the data. The sheer scale and sophistication of the technology around them felt daunting, alien, and unfamiliar. Whispers broke out on the bridge, speculating on what ancient, hidden power might be waiting in this sector. Varnke quelled their chatter, but the unsettled feeling persisted, even within him. He'd never felt this level of unease on any prior mission. Their questions were answered moments later. A small vessel appeared on their scanners, bearing the distinct markings of an ancient human design, but altered, enhanced far beyond what Council records had documented of humanity's past. As they moved in, they saw figures emerge from the ship. These beings bore a faint resemblance to the humans in old records, but seemed almost ethereal, transcending the limits of flesh. Their forms radiated a quiet power, their eyes holding a calm intelligence and control that sent a chill through Varnke's spine. These humans were no longer primitive. They were something altogether different, evolved in ways the Council had never anticipated. One of these beings approached their vessel, speaking through a universal telepathic channel. "We are humanity," the figure declared, voice resonant calm. "We have returned." The message was simple, almost welcoming, yet it carried an undercurrent that hinted at vast strength held in careful check. Varnke could feel his pulse race despite the serene delivery. He ordered his crew to record every detail and send it back to the Council immediately. First contact and fear. Back at the Galactic Council headquarters, panic and paranoia gripped the chambers as the scout team's transmission arrived. The visuals of the humans, ethereal and evolved, standing with an almost serene confidence, were enough to ignite immediate alarm. A species long thought extinct, relegated to the dusty pages of galactic history, had returned, not as the fragile, primitive beings of old, but as something vastly superior, something that made even the most advanced Council members feel a chill. The Council's leaders convened in an emergency session. The room buzzed with anxious murmurs as representatives debated the implications. For many, memories of humanity's distant past resurfaced, marked by tales of chaos, violence, and rebellion. Humanity had always been seen as an unpredictable, reckless species, a destructive upstart that burned brightly but briefly. Now, Seeing their return with such power and composure, the Council's elder members saw only danger. They argued that, if humanity truly had transcended physical limitations, they could be an uncontrollable force, a threat to the delicate balance that the Council had worked for millennia to maintain. Old prejudices and fears emerged in a flood of heated arguments. Council members cited records of humanity's old wars and conflicts, painting them as a species doomed to disrupt any order they touched. To many, humanity's evolution represented a ticking time bomb, an unknown power that could fracture the Council's influence and stability across the galaxy. Some argued that humanity's very existence needed to be controlled, even if it meant forcing them back into isolation. Others whispered about containment strategies, defensive postures, and preemptive measures. Despite the growing hostility, humanity's representatives did not ignore the Council's concerns. They initiated contact with the Council, hoping to bridge the divide with transparency and peace. In calm, measured tones, they explained their journey over the past eons, how they had broken free from biological limits, evolved mentally and physically, and embraced a path of knowledge and harmony. They extended an offer of alliance and cooperation, presenting themselves as allies who could contribute to the galaxy's prosperity, not as conquerors. But the Council could only see humanity as an unpredictable wild card, a force too alien and advanced to be trusted. The idea of a species that could transcend physical limitations, one that was no longer bound by the Council's traditional understanding of biology and consciousness, filled the room with unease. Humanity's newfound abilities, mental mastery, control over energy, and expanded consciousness were met with suspicion, viewed as weapons rather than wisdom. Their offer of peace was dismissed as either naive or insincere. The Council formally labeled humanity as a threat, branding them outlaws who existed outside the boundaries of galactic law. With tension rising, humanity's representatives withdrew from the Council chambers with dignity, though an unmistakable sadness marked their faces. Despite their calm demeanor, the rejection stung. The hope they had placed in reconciling with the galaxy was swiftly collapsing. Behind them, Council members wasted no time, immediately deploying surveillance drones and fleets to monitor humanity's every move, treating them as dangerous entities that had to be contained. Even as humans refrained from any aggressive action, their very presence, their quiet display of power and mastery over the physical and mental, was seen as a threat. To the Council, humanity's evolution was simply too potent, too alien, to be allowed unchecked. Driven by fear and suspicion, the Galactic Council initiated preemptive strikes against humanity's new settlements on the galaxy's outskirts. Their ships moved quickly, surrounding human outposts and launching attempts to blockade and harass the seemingly isolated human population. To the Council, these actions felt necessary. Containment was the only logical response to the unknown threat humanity represented. The humans, however, did not retaliate. Instead, they chose a path of restraint, using their newly honed abilities to neutralize the attacks without engaging directly. With powers that allowed them to communicate telepathically and manipulate molecular structures, they could disarm missiles mid-flight, render energy blasts harmless, and redirect Council vessels back from whence they came, all without a single human weapon being fired. The Council's ships would find their engines disabled, their systems scrambled, and their weaponry reduced to useless machinery, much to the frustration of their crews. Humanity's passive defense left the Council's forces bewildered. The humans demonstrated an effortless ability to protect themselves without aggression, showing they had achieved a level of control over energy and matter that no other species had even imagined. Despite this display of restraint, the Council's leaders felt threatened. The fact that humans could subdue their fleets without lifting a finger only reinforced their sense of inferiority and fear. They pressed forward, convinced that this was merely a precursor to a human invasion. As Council attacks continued, the humans eventually decided to respond in a way that would make their position clear. Without deploying a single ship, they established a shimmering barrier around their settlements, a visible field that spanned miles, glowing softly with pulsing energy. It was an unmistakable show of power, a silent message that they could, if needed, protect themselves in ways that the Council could not overcome. The barrier radiated a potent but non-hostile energy, a testament to humanity's control over the very fabric of reality. Council ships that ventured too close were gently but firmly pushed away, left unable to penetrate or even approach the human territory. This show of power sparked panic across the Council. Reports poured in, relaying the sight of human defenses that defied known science. Even the Council's top scientists and tacticians could not decipher the mechanics behind the barrier. Desperation gripped the Council's leaders as they concluded that humanity's potential was too great a threat to be left unchecked. Their resolve hardened. They were determined to crush this outlaw species before it could reshape the galaxy in its image. The Council began a campaign to rally other species to their cause, spreading propaganda that painted humanity as an existential danger. Tales of humanity's unnatural evolution were twisted to fit a narrative of impending doom, with rumors circulating that the humans intended to subjugate the galaxy, to bend other civilizations to their will through their unnatural powers. Old fears and prejudices resurfaced, with species recalling stories of humanity's ancient wars and branding them as conquerors. Despite these provocations, humanity's attempts at negotiation continued. They extended offers of peace, expressing their desire to avoid unnecessary conflict. But every diplomatic transmission went unanswered. Every message of peace met with silence or scorn. The Council had made its decision. Humanity's presence was too volatile, too powerful, and the galaxy could not afford to let them exist unchecked. As more species joined the Council's campaign, it became clear that war was inevitable. Humanity, once seeking only peace, now faced a galaxy that had made up its mind to oppose them, no matter the cost. Humanity, after enduring constant hostility and misunderstanding, finally came to a painful realization. They would never be welcomed. Their evolved state, their abilities, their very presence, all felt like an affront to the Galactic Council's need for control and stability. Each attempt at peace was met with rejection, each offer of understanding twisted into a cause for fear. Humanity understood that, no matter how peacefully they acted, the Council would see them as a threat that needed to be contained or destroyed. Continuing to stay would only lead to more suffering for both sides. In silent resolve, humanity made their decision. They would leave. In a solemn farewell, they began to dismantle their settlements, preparing to depart from the galaxy they had hoped to one day share in peace. Their departure was quiet, a retreat done with dignity and a deep sense of loss. There would be no revenge, no final display of power, only a retreat into the stars, away from those who could not accept them. Before they left, the humans planted a single beacon within their former territory, a small structure barely visible against the dark of space. This beacon was humanity's only parting gift, a reminder of what had been lost and a message for those who might one day find it. It bore a simple inscription, written in a script that would be understood by all who encountered it. Alien but universal in its message, we sought peace, and it was denied. Should we ever return, it will be in a time when peace is no longer possible. With that, humanity faded from the galaxy. Their ships, blending into the vast emptiness, disappeared beyond the galactic borders, taking their knowledge, their abilities, and their dreams of alliance with them. They left the Council space to drift in silence, the beacon's faint signal the only trace of their presence. In the Council chambers, there was an initial wave of relief as word spread that humanity had left. Yet that relief quickly gave way to an uncomfortable silence. For many Council members, the victory felt hollow. Discussions emerged in quiet corners, voices uncertain, asking if they had acted out of genuine reason or if they had succumbed to ancient prejudices and fears. Some leaders began to question whether humanity's offer of peace had been genuine, and a sense of regret began to take root, though few dared to voice it. As days turned to weeks, the Council's sense of relief began to fade, replaced by a haunting sense of something lost. Scholars spoke of the potential knowledge humanity had offered, the unprecedented abilities they wielded, and the mysteries that now lay beyond their reach. The beacon stood as a silent witness to that lost potential, a signal, still pulsing faintly, that reminded them of the decision they had made. For some, it became a symbol of regret, for others a warning. In the end, the Council's leaders buried their doubts, insisting to themselves and others that they had done what was necessary for galactic peace. But a lingering question remained unspoken. Had they driven away an ally or an enemy? The galaxy resumed its routines, yet a subtle void remained, a sense of unfinished business and unspoken fears. And as the years passed, the beacon continued its silent vigil, sending an occasional pulse into the galaxy, a reminder of the species that had once offered peace. The signal carried a silent promise that humanity might one day return, though next time it might not be with an open hand.